Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of Burning Boxes and Breaking Chains podcast, where it's all about accountability. Today is our guest is my friend Frankie Lucas, who is one that is not shy away from learning new things. So much so, he is known as Front Row Frankie. He wants to sit in the front of the room and get all the information he can. He's a member of the National Speakers Association, and he has just released the No Bad Days Mindset Transformational Calendar. So, everybody, welcome Frankie to the podcast.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Jeff. I appreciate you. And
You're
now everybody,
welcome.
now everybody knows my last name. People always kind of wonder like what my last name is because I don't
My
mark
bad.
it anywhere because people have asked me before. So it's out there. But if you type in Frankie Lucas, you're not really going to find anything.
Front Row Frankie.
Front Row Frankie.
Yeah.
It'll all be out there.
So there you go. It's all good, man. So, Frankie, the one thing that I know we've talked about too is this podcast, these first episodes as I get this thing launched are wrapped around the accountability in the form of it's my fault. So my first question for you is what moment in your life did you look back at and realize at that time, this is my fault and it made all the difference in the world?
I think a lot of that self-realization has come from spiritual growth, for me. Realistically, it's come from spiritual growth. And I don't know whether it's, too much too soon, but the self-realization that it was, my fault was I was in a spiral of addiction and alcoholism for 16 years.
Wow.
And, I think I maybe blamed others, many times over the years. But having that realization that, this is my fault and it's up to me to pull myself out of that. And that was 9 years ago in 2016. And then came the spiritual growth, which I think was always within me. But it took that self-realization to see that it was my fault to pull myself out of it.
I understand that totally. And, it's a funny thing when you're pointing fingers or you're blaming somebody else. And it was brought to my attention many years ago when you're pointing at somebody else, you got three fingers pointing back at you.
That's right.
So there's a lot of accountability in there, whether it's what you say or do or how you act. So tell me a little bit more about this transformational calendar, man. This is awesome. I'm still looking for it. I need to get online and go buy one.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing it up so soon, and I as far as being accountable, I was thinking of it earlier, like this daily transformation calendar holds people accountable, holds me accountable. And the fruition of it, this has been years in the making, years in the fruition. I've been a daily writer for many years, and I write and journal every single day. It's just part of my routine. And my business, being a professional speaker, is I speak on motivational resilience and mindset. And my brand is called the No Bad Days Mindset, which is a set of practices, principles, and routines which I've adapted into my life to make it possible to have no quote unquote bad days in over 2,000 days. So that is all done through selfless service and positive action by shifting the perspective and helping somebody else besides myself. And I see that I have hard days with a lot of bad moments, but I don't have to define it as a bad day. So I preface that to share the intention behind this daily transformation calendar. And if you notice, I didn't call it a daily affirmation calendar because there's 1,000 out there, but there's not one that is like this daily transformation calendar because it helps people transform. It gives people a routine. One of the first steps that I do in the morning is I start my day with intention and say, today is a good day for a good day. And that next little routine is using a daily affirmation calendar, which I've used many over the years. And it's important for me to start my day with intention to look at that affirmation, to read it, to take it in, to embrace it, and to then write about it. So that's where this came to fruition. And I started collecting the affirmations that I write years ago. And I started copy and pasting them. I write them in my little journal, and then I would copy and paste them into a little Google Drive, and then I would post them on my Instagram and Facebook stories, and people watch them. And I have people that watch it every day. And silently, I was really not copy and pasting them for other people, but it was already copy and pasted because I've been saving them. I've been saving them for years. And to get to the point is that, yeah, I just finally released it. And it is revolutionary because it has not just an affirmation, which every calendar, one of those, they all have a little affirmation, but it has a mini mantra. It's a little sentence to help people remember what the affirmation was. And one of my little quirky things is I'm a man of many, many mantras, so a lot of tiny little mantras. And then the reflection question, which is to help people self-reflect, to look at the affirmation, the mini mantra, and seek within themselves, but more so to help them journal, to write, because a lot of people ask me, how do you write, how do you journal? And it's hard. It is hard to free write. It's hard to get out there. But what I've found is that if you just have a prompt, if you just have a little glimmer of light, the whole world opens up. So it gives people a prompt to start writing, because if you just start writing, you'll end up somewhere else. So it's very cool. And then what's also great about this, and what's different about others, the transformation aspect of it, is that every month is broken up into different areas of personal growth and development. So this month is perspective and awareness. January. Next month, February, is connection and compassion. March, discipline and direction. So you get the point there. Yep. So one more, I'll finish up real quick right here, is that it's guided that way with neuroplasticity behind it, because it takes 28 days to form a habit. So some days it might seem redundant. They might be similar to the day before, the day before that, but that's intentional because our subconscious is already taking it in. And over time, we start to believe these things that we're reading. They start to encompass and embody themselves inside of us. So it's giving people a blueprint to just sit down, take the calendar, and just do it every day. And I wholeheartedly believe anybody that does this, their life will change.
Yeah, I really love that, man. I'm looking forward to getting online and ordering one of them myself. You mentioned the word earlier, the intentionality of the day. And that is a huge thing that most people don't realize, that they are the ones, it's a choice, to be intentional and decide that you're going to have today's a good day to have a good day.
That's right.
You decide it's going to be a bad day, that choice is yours. I was at a conference last year and was one of the ambassadors, and I got to greet everybody coming to breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I was just having a blast with my personality. And the lady at the hotel, she said, one morning, she goes, how do you wake up in such a good mood? And I told her, I said, well, that's easy. I said, I wake up in the morning and say, good morning, Lord, instead of good Lord, it's morning.
That's right.
She goes, wow, I never thought of it like that. I said, try it, because you start your day off on the right foot. When you wake up with that intention, then I'm going to have a good day. And our buddy Les Brown says, if you wake up in the morning and there's not a white chalk line around your body, it's a great day. And I've lived that for a long time. I'm on the right side of the grass, and it's up to me whether to make it a good day or a bad day. Now, I may have bad moments during the day, but I don't let them ruin my whole day. Why would I let 6 seconds or 20 seconds or 30 seconds of bad time ruin 24 hours of my day? That just makes no sense to me.
Exactly.
And the accountability comes in, because that's my responsibility to do that, not anybody else's. So
exactly.
To have something that's 365 days a year, it's a good reminder for people on that intentionality. So I'm proud of you for that, man. That's pretty cool.
Thank you. I'm very, very proud of it too. And it's a lot of hard work and dedication and discipline, and a belief in something that has worked for me, that simplifies it a little bit for people to really step into that. And this whole personal growth and development realm is a daily thing. You got to do it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just a matter of just doing it.
Absolutely. Progress, not perfection.
That's right.
You gotta make progress every day. Keep making those steps. And if something knocks you down, you go back 2 steps, make sure you take 3 more the next day.
That's right.
It's always moving forward.
Yeah.
So that's one of the cool things about it to me. And I mentioned to somebody the other day, the accountability, it's very freeing when you hold yourself accountable and you know that you're accountable for no matter what transaction may transpire during the day. It's up to you on whether you get through it, whether you let it knock you down, whether you stay down. Sometimes things are going to knock you down, but the key thing is don't stay there. That's one of the things from me starting this podcast was I wanted a well-versed group of people to come in. So people that are listening to this, they may resonate with a piece here or a piece there, but they need to, ultimately, I want them to realize that their daily actions and reflections and attitudes are totally in their realm to control. You're the one that's in charge, nobody else.
Yeah. Yeah. While I have you here, what's your birthday? Let's do this.
8/7.
That's August 7th, right?
Yeah, it is on my calendar.
All right. So we got August is confidence and courage.
That's me, man.
All right. June, July, August 8, 21. Let's see here. 8.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun. Here we are. All right. August 7th. By instilling fear of failure or upset, it presents a prime opportunity for personal growth. By instilling fear of failure or upset, it presents a prime opportunity for personal growth. And the mini mantra is fear of failure is an opportunity for growth. And the reflection, what failure are you afraid of that's actually your biggest growth opportunity?
Wow.
So there's a lot there.
There is. There absolutely is. And the fact is that most people, when they fear failure is just a lesson.
Oh,
you take that as a lesson and move forward from it. It's not something that's intended to keep you there for the rest of your life or the rest of the day or anything else. It helps you create a roadmap with the failures and what not to do.
Yeah.
That's the way I've looked at them for many years. And this path for me started just over 42 years ago, about holding myself accountable and knowing that I'm responsible for my actions, whether it be putting a shopping cart back, picking up something off the ground that I dropped, or even holding the door for somebody. I was listening to Jim Rohn earlier today, and he said that integrity and character is built by the things that you do when nobody's watching.
Exactly.
But you're watching. That's the key thing. You're watching. You know whether you did shortcuts or not. And that's where the accountability comes in. Don't do it. So you can act with integrity in just about everything you do.
Yeah. How many people walk over a piece of trash on the sidewalk, or a napkin in the hallway or something like that? And then also on the flip side of that, how many people stop and just pick it up and put it in the trash can that's right there?
Yeah.
Or think about doing it so somebody else doesn't have to.
There you go. And sometimes those examples that you set, you have no idea that somebody may be watching, and you're setting an example for them that you're not even aware of.
Mm-hmm.
I was out walking an hour or so before I got on this podcast with you, and walking in my neighborhood and happened to come by the park, and somebody threw out a drink cup. So I picked it up, made a little detour into the garbage can, and disposed of it. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty simple because this is my neighborhood. This is where I live. I don't want it looking like a trash pit. Mm-hmm. And those things, it's so simple. It's as simple as being kind to people. You're accountable there as well on the way you leave an interaction with somebody. That's your responsibility, not theirs.
Yeah. Be the person that your grandmother would be proud of,
There you go. I listened to there's a football player named Derrick Henry. I think he plays for the Ravens now. He used to play for Alabama. He was raised by his grandmother, and she taught him, and I heard her say this, that manners will take you places money can't buy you. I said, wow, that's profound. Because she's absolutely correct.
100%.
And being nice to people.
And those failures and the hardships and the struggles has taught me lessons that can't be bought.
Oh, absolutely, dude.
They cannot be bought. They cannot be taught. They can only be experienced. And that's right. Through so many different avenues. but it's all because of failure, struggle, loss, death, heartache, heartbreak, all these things that we fear has rocketed me into exponential growth more times than I can count. So,
And they're all learning experiences too, Frankie. I mean, you take a lesson from everything that happens to you, and I know you know this too, is by keeping an attitude of gratitude. And sometimes it's hard to be grateful for the hard times.
yeah.
But the fact is, they build a character and a resolve in you to not go through that type of stuff again that propels you into your future.
Can I
And
can I share a little bit about this no bad days mindset and share this hardest day? Because how I shift my perspective into saying that it wasn't a bad day is I find gratitude.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, take this personal summary and I find gratitude for a bed, for pillows, for food, for things like that, things that I haven't had before. And I find gratitude. And the hardship, the hardest day was April 6th, 2021. And I lost my father. My father passed away. And we had rebuilt our relationship over the years, which was great. And I felt at peace. And I didn't know what to do. So I went to my men's group that I attend and surrounded by people that I loved and they loved me and had experience. And I shared about it. And I went home and I got a call saying that my spiritual mentor passed away. And this was the man that saved my life in 2016. I was a stranger in his home and he let me stay there. The rug got pulled out from underneath me. You know, I lost the man that gave me life and the man that saved my life on the very same day.
Wow.
Now, what do I do? The world is falling apart. It's on fire. What do I do? And I realized that there's absolutely nothing that I can do. And I sit with it. And I had already been in this growth mindset for a while. And I'm so grateful for that because when the wheels fell off, I didn't have to fall off also. And that night, even though what happened, I evaluated the situation. I have something called the P concept. The P concept, here's my little bowl of peas. And the P concept is a way to reframe thinking, and it's pause, evaluate, action. So I paused, I took a breath. I realized
Wow.
there's absolutely nothing I can do. I evaluate it. I look at who these men were and what they would want from me. And they were both great men and they wanted me to do great things. And I knew the only thing they would ever want from me is to keep doing what I'm doing and to help others. That's the only thing I have control over in that situation. And then I take action, take that positive action, because that's the only choice I have besides negative self reflection. Negative self reflection or positive action are the only two choices I have. And that rocketed me into exponential growth. And still, with that day being a terrible day, the no bad days mindset isn't about toxic positivity, that everything's great, everything's good. No, I have terrible, very, very hard days. My life is hard. Life is hard, but I don't have to stay there. So that night, regardless of what happened, I looked at my personal summary and um, I still said, today was a good day. Life is good because it is. Today was a good day. It wasn't a bad day. And even if it wasn't a bad day, even if it wasn't like a great day, I took the action. So taking that action over time, over time, over time, I didn't have any burning bush moment, but when I look back, all the bushes were burnt.
There you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I learned a while back, and I heard somebody say this too, you cannot be grateful and grumpy at the same time.
That's true.
You just can't.
Yeah.
It's physically impossible for those two behaviors or feelings to reside in you at the same time. While that may have been a tough day, you didn't let it ruin your day, and ruin who you were and what you had built. And that goes to say a lot about the person you had become, which is what this is all about, with this accountability podcast, is making sure that you do the right things day after day. And we're going to have tough days. I mean, people lose their jobs, people lose loved ones. That's part of life.
Yeah.
That's something I learned years ago, and I was blessed that my father and all of his siblings, I got to spend time with them right before they passed, all five of them. And one of them I actually slept in a recliner in a hospice room before he passed. But I was there helping take care of him. As tough as that was, because I loved him dearly. He was one of my uncles, and one of my favorite uncles, actually. He taught me so much. But it was my gift back to him to be able to sit there with him and take care of him. And those type of things I don't regret a bit. It's part of the fact of being accountable to me and to my family, that it's up to me to be there for some people now. And even friends that I've got around town, around the country. There's times that I can be there for them when they need somebody. And sometimes and the nice thing about the technology now, it can just be a text, say just checking in on you, especially when I know they're going through some tough stuff.
Mm-hmm.
One of the ladies that I was on, I think it was the second podcast, Lori. I knew she was going through some tough things with her mother, and her mother eventually passed. But I was checking in on her all the time to let her know that somebody was thinking about her.
Yeah.
I do that a lot with people. Somebody posted not too long ago, said sometimes you wonder why a lot of good things may not happen to you, but you're the good that happens to others. I'm like, okay, I can see that. Because I try and keep that positive attitude and that mindset that you talk about, because that's what you're in control of. This 6 inches between your ears, you are 100% responsible for that.
Yeah, gratitude is an action word. I always say, if you're grateful for something or someone, show them and do that, do something. If you love somebody, tell them.
Oh
If
yeah.
you're thinking of somebody, tell them, because so many times we don't. And then also, like, yeah, I kind of wanted to circle back to another profound moment. You talked about being there, being present when your uncle passed. And fortunately and unfortunately, my I have dealt with loss and death my entire life, and doing a lot of inner work. I've even from the time I was 7 years old, um, up just throughout life. But an experience I had 2020 was the closest I've ever felt to God, to my higher power, was when I was there and present for my stepfather taking his last breaths. And I was there for my mother as a son who I put through hell. And God, whatever it is, I don't know, but they didn't know that I was coming, that I was going to be there. And I got a ride 4 hours away to be there. And I showed up within minutes of him passing, kissed his forehead, and within minutes he passed, and nobody else was there. My mother was there alone. Nobody was there with her. And it was almost like the universe waited for me to be there. And I've never felt so close to God. And that came through loss. And that just once again rocketed me into spiritual growth, into personal growth and development. I'm just radiating with chills because it's still such a profound moment. To where once again I can't control it, but I know the only thing he would ever want from me is to be a good son, and to make sure that she never has to worry about anything. So
there you go. It's awesome. I love those experiences, and I've had similar to that too. My dad's oldest brother, he was the last one. All his younger siblings died before he did. And I was headed up to Massachusetts. I left Philadelphia and was driving a number of years ago. It was back in 2019. And my cousin, the youngest daughter of his, she goes, "He's waiting on you." And I literally got there and sat on his bedside with him, held his hand. He was totally unresponsive. Told him I was there, told him I loved him and everything. And in like 20 minutes, he passed. And she told me, she said, "I told you he was waiting on you." I said, "Apparently he was." Being grateful to be there for those type of moments is huge as well. So glad you got to experience that with yours too. So
I am too. And a lot of people like, "Oh, I'm glad you got to experience that." No, and um, step into it, and I'm glad I was able to experience it too. now because of those experiences, it gives me a unique ability to help somebody else.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, when I see that, people and they're in hospice care, I have way more dealings with that than I care to, but it gives me the empathy to be able to deal with them. And, Plato says that the highest form of knowledge is empathy because you have to suspend your ego and live in someone else's world for a moment,
Yeah.
which is huge. Then that's where the relatability and the authenticity and connections come from when you can relate and they know that experience gives you that ability to connect with them instantly because you know where they're going and you know what they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
It's no different than me. I mean, I've had 5 dogs that I've had in my lifetime that I personally have owned that I've had to put to sleep, and I stayed with every one of them.
Yeah.
Crying my freaking eyes out, but I stayed with everyone
That's
until
brutal. It's brutal.
it is brutal.
Yeah.
But I know that they would never leave me. It's like when my mother passed almost 4 years ago, that I was in the house with her until the day she left, you know, and, and I stayed with her and we were able to keep her home. So I'm very blessed for that too, that I didn't have to put her in a home
Yeah.
or put her in nursing care or something. We were able to keep her at home until she passed away, which is what she wanted.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get it, man.
Mhm.
Listen, man, we're coming toward the end of this. So my question for you now is, if you had some advice that you could impart on the audience on some things that they could do daily or monthly to make sure they hold themselves accountable to make their lives and possibly the lives of people around them better, what would you tell them? If you had them right in front of you right now, what would you say?
Develop a morning routine and stick to it. That is the biggest tip or gift that I could give anybody is to figure out a morning routine. Mine is um, probably longer than others, but I tell people because I think too many people say I can't or I don't have time or I can't do this. Okay, well just figure out what you can do. It doesn't have to be an hour. It doesn't have if it's 10 minutes, if it's 4 minutes, what is it? Can I stick to 4 minutes a day? And can I do that? And just stick to that. Um, and then outside of that, going throughout the day, seeing what you can do rather than what you can get,
Oh, yeah.
because that is the key to life. If somebody were to ask me what is the key to life, I would say helping others helps ourselves. But we as humans, we that's not our first instinct. It's not to help somebody else because we're driven. We want to help ourselves. But the key to it is helping somebody else, and we get the benefit after. But we don't get that benefit until after we do it. And then that ties into the end of the day where we find that gratitude that regardless of what happened, I helped somebody else besides myself. And it helps me to be able to say today was a good day, life is good. But where did that start? It started because I started the day with intention and then just doing it again and doing it again. I didn't get here with, uh, over 2,300, quote unquote, no bad days. I got there because I started with day one with the intention. So, yeah.
Yeah, living with intention is huge, and especially if you're driven to try and do it in a positive way. Frankie, thanks you so much for your time today, and I look forward to seeing you again, my friend. And I'll tell everybody too, if you need a good Uber driver in DC, Frankie's the guy.
I got you. Well, not Uber, but if you're a speaker and you're a professional and I'm the closest.
Absolutely. I'm joking when I say that. I called him my Uber driver. He picked me up at the airport and was
if you're in the professional realm, and I'm 8 minutes from the DCA airport. I live a life of service. I would love to be there for you. I appreciate you. And my parting words always here and now and always is take care, be well, be kind. And most importantly, be sure to go help somebody else.
Hey, there you go. Thanks, buddy.
You're welcome. Thank you.